We take you now to the Cannon Rotunda on Capitol Hill. Joining us is Florida Republican Congressman Carlos Gimenez. He's a member of the House Armed Services Committee. And Congressman, want to start with the reporting today about President Trump preparing to send about 10,000 troops to the southern border to support Border Patrol agents there. That's the banner headline in today's Washington Post. Where are they going? What will they be doing?
They'll be supporting Customs and Border Protection agents in securing our southern border. I think that's exactly what they will be doing to make sure that our southern border is secure.
What does that mean? Support them how?
Support them in whatever way the Customs and Border Protection agents need support. And so, that's what they're there for, to make sure that our southern border is secure. And what the specific mission of each unit is going to be, I'm not privy to that.
As of now, U.S. troops are prevented from performing law enforcement duties on U.S. soil. It's something called the Posse Comitatus Act. Why is that? Is that something that could change? Are those troops needed to do law enforcement inside the U.S.?
Yeah, it could be. Well, probably because we've had an invasion in the southern border. Customs and Border Protection has been overwhelmed, and in order to secure America, we need to have our armed forces down there, and also to show a strength that we mean business to the people that are importing these immigrants. The southern border is actually on the other side, is controlled by the Mexican cartels. We have just designated them as a terrorist organization. And so, you're going to need some show of strength in order to show the resolve of the United States to protect our southern border.
What does designating cartels as a terrorist organization, that was one of the first executive orders, what does that do?
Well, it says that they're a terrorist organization and that we can take some extraordinary action against them. And so I've been calling for that for a number of years. I know that about 3 years ago I had then former director of the now former director of the FBI, Christopher Wray, in front of our committee, and I said, "What's the difference between the Mexican cartels that are killing tens of thousands and now hundreds of thousands of Americans, and Al Qaeda, who killed 3,000 people on 9/11?" After they did that, we went 6,000 miles and waged 15 years of war in order to try to wipe them out. The Mexican cartels have killed many more Americans than Al Qaeda did, and they're right across the border. What's the difference? And he just said there was some kind of legal issue as to why we couldn't call them terrorists. I call them terrorists. They've been killing Americans for a number of years. We need that to stop.
Do you think we need to wage a war, wipe them out, and does that include war on foreign soil?
It means that what we need to tell the Mexican government is that we're very serious about it, that we're not going to tolerate their cartels or their lack of control of their side of the border to continue to kill tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of Americans. And that if they can't do it, then we may have to go there, because you know what? The number one job of the federal government, or any government, is actually to protect its citizens. We know who's doing it. We know where they're getting their chemicals from that produce the fentanyl. That's coming from communist China. And so, we have to protect our citizens. And if that's what it takes to protect our citizens, then we need to go over there and wipe them out, because they have killed far too many Americans, and we have done very little about it.
Another Donald Trump executive action this week, revoking a Biden administration decision to remove Cuba from that list of state sponsors of terrorism. What does that do?
Well, by removing them, it allowed them access to financial markets. It's given them a little bit of oxygen for that regime. Putting them back in limits that, then restricts them from accessing markets. There are sanctions that are imposed to countries that are state sponsors of terrorism. So I'm very happy that President Trump did that. It was in the final days of the Biden administration. Again, I'm not a big fan of President Biden. I thought that he was his decisions were just not in the best interest of America. And I'm glad that President Trump reversed that and put Cuba exactly where it should be, as a state sponsor of terrorism.
You live in Florida. How would you describe the U.S. U.S.-Cuba relationship right now?
Well, I mean, the U.S.-Cuba relationship should be as frosty as possible. We should impose as many sanctions on them as possible. We should probably start restricting travel to Cuba. You know, that regime is in deep trouble. It's on the cliff. It's been oppressing its people for over 60 years. There's no freedom of the press, no freedom of religion. They have over 1,000 political prisoners. They haven't had free elections in over 60 years. So I consider it to be illegitimate. They can't even provide electricity for its people. There's rolling blackouts in Cuba every day, and the people of Cuba need to be free. And we, the United States, have to be the champions of democracy and freedom. And the people of Cuba have not been free for over 60 years. I'm here because of that. My parents fled to the United States back in 1960. You know, to obtain freedom, and thank God they did. You know, I live in the greatest country in the world, but I'm not going to forget the people of Cuba. We need to turn Cuba from an enemy into a friend. And the only reason they're an enemy is because you have this illegitimate Marxist government down there that remains in power through the use of force.